One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. So you're a pretty frequent attendee to a number of conferences across the nation that focus on ticket sales and or the greater sports industry. NAATSO, obviously, but you've also done SEAT. You've done the National Sports Forum and a number of others. I'd love for you to compare and contrast what you get from each of these events on an annual basis that you do attend.
I'll start off with SEAT, and I'm a little bummed out this year because it's in Las Vegas and unfortunately can't go because we're implementing a new ticket system this year, Spectra, that we brought on. But what I'll say is when I attended SEAT last year in San Francisco, and I kind of lucked out with both the Association of Luxury Suite Directors and SEAT being both in San Francisco. It was just a drive down and could drive every day if I needed to. SEAT is like getting a C+ and an A class. I didn't understand all of it, but there was way more content there. It challenged me in every way. It made my head hurt. I felt sleepy by the end because of the fact there was so much information, and not just math, but honestly, just how you reorganize both data sets, how you understand social media. I give Christine Stoffel a lot of credit in that. She has put together a fascinating conference, and it's really challenged me on what does the attendee get out of this? What does the attendee see, and how do we make sure that it's not just sponsor-driven? And I think that, so many conferences can suffer from this, and you want to make sure the sponsors are happy, but at the same time, you've got to also make sure the attendees feel they're not just being pitched, that they are actually receiving a ton of great information that they can bring back. And I have to compliment her on that. Now, the Association of Luxury Suite Directors, a lot of times they challenge me in totally different ways of what the consumer is thinking, how to make sure that you're going that extra mile in terms of value and high end. And that matters because we have a lot of donor seats. I'm actually surprised at the lack of people that are on the development side as well as who are selling premium tickets for donor seats who are not at ALSD. I'm a board member, so of course I'm going to kind of be an advocate for it. But to go there and experience that, you have the ability to see exactly what the pros are doing and how this can be something that you can apply to your own, kind of system. And we need to have the differentiator when we're selling courtside seats. They are not just regular tickets. How that experience happens. And one of the best sessions that I ever saw there was somebody saying, walk your actual facility and go to your courtside seats and see exactly what your customer is seeing at the courtside level compared to every other ticket in town. Great, you have their money, but experience what they're doing. Are they walking through a tunnel? Why can't you improve that tunnel to make it look better? Are they going to events that are at halftime? Are they working out with special VIP stuff on the side that actually helps enhance their experience? I think that's very valuable, and it's something that you don't get if you're not around your peers. I'm a big advocate in general of if you're around your peers, you learn more. I think one of the things that you can do to cost yourself is not talking enough to your peers, not going out and finding out what your peers are doing. And honestly, that doesn't happen overnight. You have to consistently work at it. I don't think that people do that enough. I don't think people call up not just their colleagues that are their buddies that they've hung out with. Call up strangers. Call up strangers in the field that are doing this well or that well, and figure out what they're doing, and then be able to kind of adopt your own ideas. One of the best quotes I feel, and I use it all the time: good artists create, great artists steal. So that's by Da Vinci, Picasso, and Bill Gates. And what that means is not to steal it directly, but what happens is the more stuff that you take from other people and that you build into your own idea, the better it'll be, because you can see what's worked and you can see what hasn't. And that means that you can adapt, you can, qualify, and you can create your own system. And I think that that's where I'm looking forward to not only the innovation that is out there, but also where the ideas of, hey, we've screwed up, but we've tried. And I think that a lot of people get too fearful of screwing up, so they don't want to call people that they don't know, or they don't want to talk to people they haven't talked to before. And a lot of times they would probably eliminate half of the issues that they had simply by, learning more from people that challenge them. I never want to be unchallenged in that sense. I don't know that actually helps anybody.
So we have a couple of minutes left, and the Tao of Sports podcast is nearly 4 years old. I guess it turns 4 years old in October. How many episodes now, Troy?
A little over 675, I think.
So undoubtedly, there are listeners to the One Question podcast series who also listen to Tao of Sports podcast. But for those who don't, why should they?
I leave it up to the listeners to, find their peers that are on the system. Here's what's funny about the podcast itself. The podcast is not where I started asking questions and calling up people that I didn't know. This kind of goes back to the last answer. I'd been doing that for a number of years. The difference is that now I'm recording them and, setting the appointments. I just want to get better at it. And assuming that what I would see in, say, a blog post or some newspaper article was enough of the story, to be honest with you, just was not my style and has never been my style. I was recently reading the book, The Big Short. I'd seen the movie, and one of the main people in that book continues to ask, so tell me more about this, tell me more about that. And the reason he's doing that, and this is the theory behind it, is he's finding out what you actually know compared to what you'll say that you know. And the more that you spend time with people and you actually listen compared to just sitting back and talking more, you find out what somebody actually has in terms of actual information compared to what they're just hanging on buzzwords. And I think that that's important in its own right, because when you're just giving out buzzwords, you can say anything. But when you actually have to give in detail, in specific detail, what something is, things are complex. So you should have time to listen to people, and you should have time to really kind of expand. And that's where I always look at the podcast itself as I'm sitting down and getting information with interesting people. Here's what's funny about that is anybody could do the podcast. The fact I highly encourage people to do their own podcast, or maybe they do a blog post, etc. Because while you're getting that half-hour window with those in that conversation via recording, I'm probably getting 45 minutes. I'm probably getting an hour with that person because of setup and prep. And the beauty of that is that it allows me to learn more in that time. You and I have talked offline, and I've learned more from you. And I think that that's the missing component that can really help broaden your strength. And that doesn't just mean from people within sports. You should be listening in general, because even if you're an insurance agent, you can tell me something that I probably didn't know about sales. And it helps me later on in life, especially because now I have that in my toolkit and I'm able to kind of move that forward.
The Big Short, better on film or the book? Which is better?
I found the book to be very enjoyable, but I enjoyed the film as well. I think that the beauty of that is that it wasn't afraid to show ugly standard people. And I mean that sincerely. If you look at, the people in there are some very, attractive people, but there are also some general people. And I think that that's something that, unfortunately, both in media and movies, we look and we try to find, trends of people that, just look like they've solved every problem, and people that have looked like they've just, figured everything out. And that's not necessarily the case with life. And I think that that's important to realize, is that generally you need to find people that are flawed, that do not fix all of their problems in one day. And I think that, and that's what I mean by ugliness, is, you can have people that always have flaws. Everyone's going to have flaws. The difference is to see past some of those flaws and be able to kind of work and, kind of utilize them to your advantage. I think that's where The Big Short was important, because it showed some people had some absolute flaws, but in the end, they were able to overcome them. And really, in the book, it actually kind of spells out the same thing. People are flawed characters.
Book was outstanding. The movie was merely very good, but that's usually, to me, how it goes between books and movies. So awesome, Troy. Thanks so much for joining the One Question podcast, sponsored by Turnkey Search, and I will look forward to chatting more in the future.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.